Hey everyone, it's Julie Young for Korean American Story and Not Your Average. Today we are on location in Philly, and we are talking today to Raymond John, the co-founder of 12 Plus. Nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us in Philly. I'm actually, it's my first time in Philly, people. So when I first met you, I asked you if you were an adoptee.
Okay.
Because your last name, John.
Right.
Can you tell us how that came to be?
Right, a lot of people have questions about that. So my last name basically is Chun in Korean, Chun, spelled J-U-N or C-H-O-N or C-H-U-N, any other kind of variety of that. But when my family had immigrated here from Korea, my aunt had lived here a month prior, and she basically had learned a little bit of English, picked up just a little bit of English while she was here. One of the very common names that you hear here in America is John. And so she just volunteered herself to fill out our immigration forms. And she just automatically associated my last name with Chun as John. And it's been kind of like a nightmare ever since. My first name was a mistake too, actually. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, so I'm named Raymond, right? And so, but my parents had me at a really later age in their lives, and they didn't really expect me. And so by the time that I was born, they didn't have an English name prepared for me. So they had a Korean name, right? But I think they were just in shock over the whole thing. That they didn't prepare to kind of give me an English name. And so when I was born, they left it up to my brother, who was 8 years old at the time. And he just thought of all of his favorite things in the world.
Your brother picked your name?
Well, his favorite food at the time was ramen. Ramen noodles. So he wanted to call me Ramen John. And thankfully, there was like a nurse next nearby that was like, why don't we go with Raymond? Raymond sounds very similar to ramen. And
that's a great story.
She saved me from many years of embarrassment.
So did he still call you ramen though?
He does, actually, all the time.
And you were originally pre-med, right?
I was.
You were going to do that average.
That's right. Well, growing up in Northern Virginia, you have certain expectations that are placed on you. And so, you know, the expectation for me was to not only go to an Ivy League school, but to pursue, you know, one of three pathways, which is either medicine, law, or business. And so I just kind of chose the field that I thought would be the most interesting. And then it eventually led me to a different path, obviously.
But okay, so you went to Penn and you were ready to be a doctor. Right. You majored in psychology, and then after undergrad, you moved to New York.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
And I did my research.
Know a lot about
I actually work for these things. Like people are sometimes surprised by that. But no, so tell us what you were doing in New York.
Sure. So I was still kind of wavering back and forth whether or not I wanted to go to med school. So a very kind of typical path for people, pre-med students who are unsure of going to med school is, you know, you go and do research. And so I was able to do these research studies and work in a hospital in New York. But if I'm going to have this year in between applying to med school or going on to pursue that medical degree, I'm going to do something that I really love. So I did do the research, right, because that was just the right thing to do for me at the time. But I also worked full-time for a nonprofit there, which was a night shift. So I worked from like 8 a.m. till like 6 p.m. at the hospital. I would go home, take like 3 hours of sleep, and then I would go from like 9 p.m. till again like 7 in the morning at this nonprofit. It was the first time in a long time where I was truly excited. I was excited about the work. I was deeply passionate about it. I really felt like I was using all that I had to the best of my ability, and I felt activated for the first time in a long time. I just had a long, hard look at what I wanted to do with my life, and it just wasn't medicine. It wasn't becoming a doctor.
If given one wish, I'd ask that every one of my students learn how to fly. That they'd grow wings like Michael Jordan, leap so high above the rafters that we start to mistake slam dunks for shooting stars in the sky. Even for a second, I wish they could fly. Just to touch and taste the impossible. To extend a pair of palms in a game of patty cake with the sun, and then cool them off in the cotton candy of a nearby rain cloud if only my students could soar.
So you come back to Philly, and you and your friends were first volunteering, right? Is that how this all? What were you doing?
Right. So when we came to Philly, we weren't entirely sure what we wanted to do, but while we were at Penn, we had volunteered in various high schools and worked with high school youth out in West Philadelphia, and we had learned their stories and heard some of the things that they had gone through, and we witnessed and realized that I grew up in I went to a public school, but their public school experience was radically and fundamentally different than my own.
Night and day, yeah.
And in particular, one thing that was in common though is that, students in Philly, just like anyone else, want to go to college, want to be successful, want to do something amazing with their lives, but often they're not given the supports or the resources to kind of help them get there. And as I was considering all these different pathways, particularly in the area of social justice or nonprofit or education, I was just kind of considering what we were already good at and how we could kind of just make a difference in the time being. And so we started this volunteer group in Philadelphia, myself and along with a few other great friends and great people, to just help kids get into college, help kids from Philadelphia get into college. We were good at that. We've always been good at that. I mean, Ivy League students know how to get into college, right? And so we thought that was something that we could do. And so we partnered with a high school out in Kensington, which is the second poorest congressional district in America, or at the time at least. Wow. And we work with 9 students. We paired each of those 9 students with a volunteer to help them with the application process and mentor them and walk them through the financial aid applications and help them select the right schools. And we got all 9 of them into college, which was obviously really exciting, and it was something that felt very invigorating for us. But as I was kind of mulling what did I want to do next, I realized that I really loved this and that I could do this in a unique and more impactful way. And so working with those 9 seniors was terrific, right? But we started asking ourselves questions like, what happens to all the other seniors in their class, or all the kids that don't even make it to their senior year? What about the school as a whole? By helping just a small cohort of high-achieving, self-selected students, are we actually helping the school move forward in the long term? What about future generations of students that are stepping through their doors? Are they also going to be entering into a climate or an atmosphere where they are supported? And so we wanted to do something that had the potential impact of changing the trajectory of a school in a positive direction, and really kind of making something that had more long-term, high-yield impact. And so I don't know if you went to public school or whatever high school that you went to, a really powerful motivating force was, I got to get into college, right? That, I think we take that for granted, and how motivating that is, and how much that drives us each and every day while we're there. We think about what we want to achieve out of our lives, and we think about how we want to go to these great schools and pursue these great futures. And so the things that we do presently in high school are connected to that long-term goal. We realize that me going to class, getting good grades, getting a good test score will ultimately result in me getting into a great school. And that message is often fundamentally missing from our high schools in Philadelphia. And we wanted to create an environment where we created that, and students did understand that the things that they were doing presently was a springboard for something bigger. And that in their pursuit for that goal of theirs that they're so passionate about, there was someone walking them step by step, every step of the way, and supporting them and empowering them and believing in them every step of the way.
Currently, there are 150,000 students in the Philadelphia Public School District. Among these students, what % do you think will go on to graduate from college?
So aside from the obvious, the students and helping them, what drives you? Internally, what really drives you?
Honestly, it's my parents. Just the way that they have raised me, and the way that they have loved me and given me so much in my life. And so whatever gifts and small talents that I might have, I want to use it to serve those that didn't have those same opportunities. And that is to honor my parents for what they've given me. And so that particularly drives me each and every day.
Okay, some fun questions.
Sure.
So what's the last song you listened to?
The last song that I listened to was Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it was Aquafina's.
Oh, was it really?
Because I
Aquafina!
was getting ready to, be interviewed by you, and I was looking through some of the videos that you put together, and so I listened to some of Aquafina's.
Was it My Vag?
No,
that's a great song. Come on, that's a great song.
New York City one.
Okay, tell us something about you that no one knows.
I used to be a beatboxer.
Really?
Yeah, I used to be like super into it.
Do you know Sung Lee?
Yeah, I
do. You know actually, he performed at NECA.
Yeah.
The night that we met.
I have a lot of respect for his craft. I'm nowhere near as good as he was, but I was a part of an a cappella group in college, a Christian a cappella group actually. But I can't sing a lick. I'm a terrible musician. So I had to kind of figure out what my role could be in this group, and so I was like, you know what? Every group needs a beatboxer. We call them vocal percussionists.
Oh, I love it.
And so I committed myself to that craft, and I was just everywhere I would walk, all throughout college campus, whether I was about to go to bed or if I was in church.
All right, so give us a little. I'm retired. Off camera, maybe we'll get him to do it. I want to thank you for joining us today. I also really, I don't usually do this, but I want to acknowledge you for the work that you do. I think it's incredibly important, and I think it's really impressive what you've done in 5 years. So I thank you personally for that. I'm sure Philadelphia does too. I have to give a shout out. I am repping the Brooklyn Theater Arts High School in Brooklyn, where my friend David Ward is the principal. So shout out to them. And thanks again.
Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Prospect Expressway. Fuck that museum shit unless it's first Saturday. Bitches be in Bushwick. They all live in Bushwick. They all love Bushwick. But I say fuck that shit. Pull over by the bird.